What are your thoughts on the outcome of the recent endorsement convention? You and Jeremiah and others were pitted in contest, and you came out ahead. Talk about
Yeah,
that. And what does it
absolutely.
mean for you, to you?
Yeah, I'm brand new to this thing, and so it might mean more to some people than others. I just know, and I appreciate Jeremiah. He said it in an article, I believe. He said, "Hey, the endorsement process is a sign of who works the hardest." And I've told every candidate in this ward that nobody will outwork me. I'm really just blessed in a situation where I could really dedicate a lot of time to this, and I really care about this issue. And I believe I've now talked to over 700 people in this ward in the last 6 months. I kid you not. And I've talked to all types of folks, people that are lifelong DFLers, people that are brand new into the system. 20% of the delegates that voted for me are Latinos, first-time voters in this community that have never been reached out to, that have never been engaged. And so, but then I got lifetime DFLers that just want a new direction in our ward, and I think that reflected very well. Reached out to them, they asked me questions. I met them one-on-one, and I think that's what it shows. And now that I've talked to this many people in our ward, the ward is ready to move on in a different direction, because what sabotages the development, which I appreciate what the work that the incumbent has done on Broadway, but what sabotages all development in our community is the fact that safety and crime isn't curbed or isn't brought down. Last week we had another lady killed on Broadway in Lindale. The week before that, we had a young man get killed in the parking lot of Shiloh Temple. I mean, every single week you get someone killed or shot, and this is not normal. I mean, I've talked to people in the community. They're like, Victor, we avoid Broadway for our life. Like, nobody goes there. People in the community that have money, that have resources to spend in our community, don't shop here, because all of the development, everything that's coming in on Broadway becomes sabotaged when these things don't get under control. I mean, you got businesses replacing the windows every 6 months. Some of them don't even want to replace them anymore because they're like, it costs too much. I'm getting out of here. And so that's huge for me. And I think that that's resonating in the community. If we can't control crime, I mean, I have families telling me, Victor, I don't even let my kids outside on the jump up and down on the trampoline anymore. I just wanted to say also, like, the fact that the company had mentioned about despair and this thought of like, oh wow, we're talking about these terrible situations in our community. When I've been out here door knocking and talking to people about safety, you know what they tell me? People that have been around 30, 40 plus years, they say, Victor, we've been asking that since 1967. And Al, you've been here a while, and like, we've been asking for safety for quite some time. So I made my platform real easy and real simple. Said, hey, how can we address these issues as best as possible? The reality is that there are cities in the country, specifically last year, that actually had zero increase in murders, that actually had less murders. So when we say, yeah, every city in America is dealing with spikes in crime, I mean, yeah, yes and no, because there are some cities that are dealing with way better than we are. I mean, we had a 80% jump in murders last year, when other cities, Newark had a 0% increase in murders. So there are cities that are doing it right, that are building consensus in the community, that are working with their law enforcement, that are working with changes in the community. And I think that in North Minneapolis, we need that here. Because again, how do we? When I go to the door and talk to people about helping them with their homes or helping them with, the number one thing they keep telling me, and this is what I hear from people all the time. That's why I make it an issue. That's why I bring it up, because the constituents here in this ward, they continue to tell me, Victor, safety is number one. We feel like nobody's listening. I'm the candidate that's talking about safety a lot, and I'm being called a fear monger. Being called, oh, we're talking about despair. Well, I'm just talking about what the people are telling me at the doors. People at the doors are worried about their safety. The people at the door are worried about their children. The people at the door is their number one concern, and we need to be able to work together. I don't believe in cancel culture and you did this, you did that. No, I believe in bringing people together. And right now, West Broadway, North Minneapolis is not together, and that's the number one thing I want to do in our community. We need to help. Why do the people of color, why do the most diverse part of our city have to deal with? It's okay to have this amount of crime. It's okay for kids to get shot. Some people in the community actually feel like this is normal. They tell us, hey, Victor, another person got shot in North. Well, you live there, you decided to live there. Like, some people are complacent that way, and I don't think that should be it. I think we need to bring the community together, all the pieces together, the city council member, the bid on the Broadway, WBC, the police, work together to really make sure that this is a safe community for the people of color that live here.
Great questions. Victor, your turn.
I would echo number one, trust between law enforcement and the community. I think that we need to ask that. Number two is that responsiveness to be able to respond back to the community. I know Ward 5 has a lot more issues than other wards sometimes, but to be able to get that response, I've heard that that's a problem in our ward. And then obviously revitalizing West Broadway. So I made those three things my campaign. We tried the same thing for 30 years. People in the community say, Victor, if we brought back beat officers to walk the beat and build relationship with people, that helps build trust. Number two, they say, hey, how do we keep accountable these officers that are not good in our system? Well, I support creating matrix systems to be able to identify trouble officers earlier on in their career rather than later. So there's things that I'm proposing that people are saying, yes, Victor, we like that. We like that. We're not abolish the police people here, and we're not defunders in North Minneapolis. I've talked to 700 people, and I'm going to tell you, 95% of them are not defunders and not abolishers. The EMS, when I did a ride along with them, they said, Victor, whatever you do to the police, you do to us. So when you bring down staffing levels for police, it's going to bring down response time for EMS because they won't come to most situations without a police presence. So I just want us to think about that. How do we rebuild trust so these systems work well together? And that's what I'm proposing and bringing to the north side.
So did you give me 5? 1 was trust, 2 was responsive, 3
Trust
was
responsive, the business corridor.
Broadway. Okay.
That West Broadway, making it safe, making it clean. How are you going to go ahead and like the same thing they all said as well? How do you work together? You got people with different beliefs, different ideas. How do we bring together and find consensus?